Mughal tent. We are delighted to introduce the courage to laugh. This session is presented by Rajasthan Patrika. Humor, for as whimsical and recreative as it is, often painted, it's also piercing. It holds the power to puncture hypocrisy, vanity, prejudice, and of all human hurdles, even pain. It's a curious and compelling craft that helps us survive, hope, and sometimes surrender. Roy Phoenix is the author of Alphabetica, a satire on majoritarianism. Diplomat Soumya Gupta's latest, Mad in India, is a funny exploration of India and Indians. And together they discuss the courage to laugh, make others laugh, and the impact of doing so. In conversation with writer Saket Suman, Roy has spent 4 decades as a creative communicator and was inducted into the International Advertising Association Hall of Fame in 2019. He has had several art exhibitions at prestigious venues like Jehangir Art Gallery. He wrote his first script at the age of 15 and has continued to write and direct films. His debut feature won the Best Film Award at the Stuttgart Film Festival 2007. Alphabetica, a satire on majoritarianism, is his debut novel. Soumya Gupta, a career diplomat from the Indian Foreign Service, is currently serving in the Ministry of External Affairs. Previously, she worked in the Indian Embassy in Berlin. Gupta was an investment banker in London before joining the IFS. She has a master's degree in economics from the London School of Economics, and her interests include dramatics, travel, and yoga. Please welcome Saket Suman. Saket is a writer, journalist, and literary chronicler. He is the author of Psychology of a Patriot. As a journalist, he has worked at the Statesman, Indo-Asian News Service, and the Times Group, besides being published extensively on popular culture, politics, and human rights in reputed newspapers, magazines, and news portals.
It's afternoon already? 12. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. अभी आज से लगभग 1 महीने पहले हमारे मेल बॉक्स में जयपुर साहित्य उत्सव, जयपुर लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल के फाउंडर्स डायरेक्टर्स की तरफ से मेल आया that there is this session we are organizing, the courage to laugh, and would like you to be a part of it. हमने होल हार्टेडली वो सेशन एक्सेप्ट किया और उसके 3 दिन बाद हमारे नाना जी का देहांत हो गया. And that left me wondering whether I actually want to be a part of this session any longer or no. So uske baad, I think there was this entire 20-25 days when we could not touch base. I was lost in my own dilemma, and then फिर अभी आज हम finally यहाँ पे बैठे हैं because the music must go on, the life must go on. This, what I told you, is the courage to laugh in the face of grief. लेकिन आपको सिर्फ grief में हंसना नहीं है, आपके मुस्कान से बहुतों को दर्द होता है, इसलिए आपको मुस्कुराते रहना है. लेकिन आपको सिर्फ दूसरों पे नहीं मुस्कुराना है, आपको अपने आप पे भी मुस्कुराना है. जब आप गलती करते हैं तो खुद पे भी हंसना होता है. ये सब कुछ और भी बहुत सारी बातें हम रॉय फोएनिक्स से बात करेंगे, मैडम सौम्या गुप्ता से बात करेंगे और हम बात करेंगे. आगे बढ़ने से पहले बताना चाहूंगा कि हम तीनों डेब्यू ऑथर्स हैं. हम तीनों की पुस्तकें 1 महीने के अंतराल में छपी होंगी. पिछले साल मेरी पुस्तक द साइकोलॉजी ऑफ अ पेट्रियट 15 अगस्त इंडिपेंडेंस डे को छपी. आपकी आई थिंक सितंबर में छपी, आपकी दिसंबर 2021 में छपी. और हम तीनों की किताब में देयर इज कॉमन ग्राउंड. द कॉमन ग्राउंड क्या है ये आगे पता चलेगा, लेकिन और आगे जाने से पहले सिर्फ एक वार्निंग देना चाहूंगा. सौम्या गुप्ता इज अ सर्विंग IFS ऑफिसर. वो हमारे तिरंगे की आन बान और शान को बरकरार रखने के लिए दिन रात मेहनत करती हैं. तो अगर आपके कुछ भी सवाल हो, हम पे जो दागना है दागिए. कौशिक भी सब सवाल लेने के लिए तैयार है, लेकिन आप भारत के तिरंगे की गरिमा एज अ सर्विंग डिप्लोमेट की वो मेंटेन रखिएगा व्हाइल आस्किंग योर क्वेश्चंस टू सौम्या. तो अब शुरू करते हैं हम सौम्या के बारे में। सौम्या की किताब है, क्या बोले, मैड इन इंडिया या मेड इन इंडिया?
So I would say, like you said, that we should have the courage to laugh. And I'm very proud, like you said, I'm a serving diplomat because I choose to serve the nation. And also that we recognize that India is different. Indians are very different. And I think we started recognizing it when I went to study, maybe abroad. And essentially, when Indians get together, we will all start talking in our language. We will all start talking about food, which makes us very different. And I think somewhere I would like to say that we are totally mad in India too, from another perspective. But we are loud and proud about it. So we are made in India and mad in India. It's about how you read the book.
So, आपकी किताब बहुत सेलिब्रेटरी है, बट इट्स नॉट द केस विद द टू ऑफ अस, है ना? हमारी थोड़ी अलग है। इनका फिक्शन है, आपका फिक्शन है, सटायर है, अ सटायर ऑन मेजॉरिटेरियनिज्म। और हमारा क्रिएटिव नॉन फिक्शन है, तो उसमें ज्यादा सटायर नहीं, आपको सब कुछ खुलेआम पता है उसमें क्या लिखा गया है। कौशिक, आप बताइए, कौशिक, एक लेखक कैसे हिम्मत लाता है कि उसके लेखन पे लोग उसे मारना चाहते हो, उसे इतना परेशान करना चाहते हो कि उसे अपना नाम बदलना पड़े, कौशिक रॉय से उसे रॉय फोनिक्स बनना पड़े। तो मिस्टर मैकडम्स, will you tell us how do you find the courage to laugh in face of adversity?
Thank you, Saket. Well, I have to say that I think I'm not very courageous. If I'd been so courageous, maybe I would have written a book like you, where I, take on my the theme and I name people, which I haven't done. So my book is a satire, and a satire.
हम आपकी किताब पे आएंगे. Can we just stick to the answer for now? How do you find the courage to laugh in the face of adversity?
The courage to laugh is, I think, something which comes from the environment around you, where you are born. If you are born in an environment where you have people who actually believe in humor as a method by which you convey a message which could be very bitter, but it has a way in which it can make people laugh, and then they are able to sort of come up with a solution or come up with a realization. That, I think, is the way in which I would believe that my experience has been, that I come from a background where people have been both humorous and courageous.
कौशिक के किताब के बारे में आपको बता दूं, इनकी किताब का नाम है अल्फाबेटिका। कैन यू शो द कवर टू द ऑडियंस प्लीज? सो ये इनकी किताब है, इनकी किताब की नाम है अल्फाबेटिका। इट्स बीन पब्लिश्ड बाय नोशन प्रेस, और ये किताब सेट है प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर में, राइट? इट्स सेट इन प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर, और इनके कैरेक्टर्स हैं A to Z. You have the consonants as the majority, right? And you have the vowels, the minority. तो क्या होता है इसमें, ये majority और minority का tussle, it comes out through these characters, and then you also have the symbols, and then you have the differently abled Q, जिसको आप Q without you बोल ही नहीं सकते हैं, तो वो सब कुछ आता है, right? तो इसमें अभी हमारे यहाँ डिमोनेटाइजेशन हुआ था कुछ दिन पहले, हुआ डिमोनेटाइजेशन। आपकी किताब में भी डिमोनेटाइजेशन होता है एक वक्त पे, आप बताएंगे वो डिमोनेटाइजेशन क्या होता है आपकी किताब में, और वो क्यों होता है डिमोनेटाइजेशन, कैसे होता है?
See, demonetization happens in my book because what you touched upon, the consonants are 21, so therefore they are the absolute majority, and the vowels are 5, so they are the minority. But what happens in my book is a sudden realization for the consonants, that when it comes to the dictionary, which is what I've mentioned in my book as the lexicon, in the lexicon, the vowels have a huge kind of share of words, and it's a share of words which makes the consonants look almost like they have nothing. So it is a point at which the consonants believe that the way in which this could be corrected is if you bring about a demonetization, when you will have a situation where the consonants will spring up because the vowels will have nothing to talk about.
Vowels को totally eliminate कर देना है.
बिल्कुल, but without realizing the consequences. because at a certain point that we often believe that if you're powerful, we have the might of the majority, we can do without the others which are meant to be the minority. But we don't realize that at the end of the day, we all need to be together. And that's the reason why my book is about the alphabet. I mean, the alphabet is 26. They all sound very different, so they're diverse. But there is no way in which you can suddenly cut them down to 21. You can't break the alphabetic system, nor can you break the system which we have as human beings.
कौशिक, सॉरी, आई कम बैक टू सौम्या, लेकिन ये पागलपन जो है कि हम वावल्स को टोटली हटा देंगे, हम ये सिर्फ कॉन्सोनेंट से काम चल जाएगा आपके जैसे प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर में कि कॉन्सोनेंट्स से ही काम चलेगा, जितने वावल्स हैं उन्हें उठा के फेंक देंगे, पागलपन दिमाग में कैसे उत्पन्न होता है? इसकी क्या कारण है? ये सोच कहाँ से आती है कि ऐसा समाज, ऐसा कुछ भी हो सकता है?
देखिए, द पागलपन इज always, in my opinion, it always starts with a small grudge. ये जैसे कि, you start believing that, the other person is having more than I have. So in this story, the pagalpan, as you call it, it starts with the letter Y. The letter Y, who has this way of always questioning why. Y says that why should 5 vowels get the article an, and why shouldn't I get it? Why should I get a as an article and not an? When I sound like year, which is EAR, and YEAR, there's no difference. But the E gets an and I don't get it. So it's a small little niggle, and then it comes to bigger things to suddenly realize that, they have more power over the dictionary. They've taken away things from us. And then you start looking at your past and you discover that 12 letters of the alphabet have suddenly disappeared over time. So it means that there could be extinction. It could mean that, the 5 can grow because they have all the takat, as you said, of the, the word share. So what will happen to us? So this is how it kind of progresses for a very small little thing like, why shouldn't I get an? Why must I get a? To a very big thing where you start thinking that you can do without the minority. You will do whatever they can do, you can do it better.
क्या ये सब्सिडी हुआ? क्या ये माइनॉरिटी अपीजमेंट जिसे बोलते हैं हम इंडिया में, वो हुआ? द गेटिंग ऑफ एन फॉर द वावल्स एंड नॉट फॉर द कॉन्सोनेंट्स? क्या ये हल्का उससे रेफरेंस है कि आप उसको टच करने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं इसमें?
Yes, in my book, Y actually calls it minority appeasement. Y says that, this is a way to sort of keep the vowels happy and giving them the an and giving them the word share. And, at times it also is not, in my book, there is no black and white. It's actually the characters are very gray. So there is also E, who has, an unusually large word share in the dictionary, because you almost can't do without an E. And so E actually also has a habit of making others a little annoyed, because E is a stand-up comedian. And you know what happens when you're a stand-up comedian, you are meant to be jailed. So in the case of E, she faces that kind of a situation where she's thrown out.
कॉमेडियंस के साथ ये है ना कि उन्हें बोलना पड़ता है, वो बोलते हैं, उनका कला बोलना है, तो वो जेल आराम से चले जाते हैं। हमारा काम है लिखना, कुछ भी लिख दो लेकिन हंसते रहो, क्योंकि आधे लोग तो पढ़ते नहीं है, और जो जेल डालने की आपको कोशिश करते हैं वो तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं पढ़ते हैं। तो अगर आप अपने मुंह से नहीं बोलोगे तो उन्हें पता ही नहीं है क्या लिखेगा, और आपको जिसे बोलना है वो पढ़ता है, तो आप हंसते रहो। आपकी मुस्कान से डरते हैं बहुत लोग, लेकिन आपको हंसते रहना है। अब सौम्या पे आते हैं। सौम्या, आपकी पुस्तक मेड इन इंडिया या मैड इन इंडिया, इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ celebration of India, right? We are talking of the majority minority book, but neither Kaushik's book nor my book is like taking down India. We are both proud Indians, and who is he somebody to say that, oh, आपका सोच हमारा सोच नहीं मिलता है तो आपको भावल्स की तरह हटा दें, है ना? आपका किताब ऐसा नहीं, आपका किताब बहुत सेलिब्रेटरी है भारत के बारे में. Tell us about some of those celebrations, and then I'll come to humor in your book.
So basically, it's about, and I'm sure there are a lot of countries which have cultures which are very similar to Indians, but India is a very, very large country. We have a ton of diversity, but there are certain things, and which my mother pointed out yesterday, is it has so much middle class which is so similar. Think about when you were a child. I mean, what did your mother want you to do? Padh lo, likh lo, engineer ban jao, medical doctor ban jao. The whole country does that. And I'm not saying that is celebratory, but that is who we are. And we do have some of the best doctors in the world. We do have some of the best scientists in the world. So it is a celebration of who we are. We are different. We eat a ton of coconut oil. Our hair is always full of oil. We are different. We are recognizable as people when we go abroad. We are different, but we are very proud to be like that. And I'm happy to be like that. I have a big family. Yes, I'm very happy to live in that big family. I might have an arranged marriage. My mother has tried for the longest time period. The whole world doesn't understand what it is, but we've been living with it and we celebrate marriage. So this is all about India. The book is basically an observation of who we are. Whether it is good, bad, whatever it is, this is what we are. And we've lived through generations with it. And it's just an observation to showcase what India and Indianness, as we like to call it, is.
Lekin Soumya, just because some things have been like this for so long doesn't mean it always have to be like this. जैसे ये stereotyping marriage की बात होती है, तो हम सभी जानते हैं कि हमारे देश में महिलाओं को, हमारी लड़कियों को peer pressure में, parents pressure करके 20 साल में शादी, 25 में बच्चे, उसके बाद life set, है ना? तो उनका definition of settlement of life is very different. Now, by celebrating that, are we not endorsing that?
No, I don't think I'm celebrating what you're exactly saying. I'm sitting right in front of you. I'm 37 years old, single, very happy. My mother's right there. She's happy about me sitting there. So I don't think I'm celebrating that you bring down independence or you celebrate. What I'm celebrating is, yes, we enjoy occasions. We are celebrating marriage because we think it's a wonderful thing. And I'm sure people who are married who possibly say marriage is a wonderful thing. But I think the family really has a good time. It's about the occasion. It's about food. It's about our music. It's about our culture. It's a lot more than just stereotyping. It's a lot more than just stereotyping. Could be anything. You know, I could say, I don't know, why is he wearing black clothes? I mean, what is this? You could stereotype anybody. Half the time I'm stereotyped by saying, she's a single at 37, totally non-achiever, bekar ladki hoegi. Should I care? I mean, no, I am living in this country and very proudly so. I do represent our country abroad too. So I don't think it's about celebrating what is maybe not so nice, but accepting it. And I think this book is not just about celebration, but it's also about accepting who we are and thinking, unless we accept, we will not move forward. And that is part of the book, I think.
और आपकी किताब से ये भी निकलता है सौम्या कि हम इंडियंस आपस में बहुत हंसमुख हैं, हम एक दूसरे पे हंस लेते हैं, मजाक जोक्स ले लेते हैं, जुगाड़ का आप जिक्र करते हैं बहुत बार. Would you throw some light on that front, please?
Yes, so I think courage to laugh, and if we look at India, we do share a joke here and a joke there. You know, I think we are a happier culture, at least from my perspective. When I go abroad, I do see that Indians smile and laugh a lot. And just going back to the stereotyping thing, you know, we stereotype a lot. For example, a lot of our jokes are on the Sikh community. You look at a Gujarati and, you know, people will be saying, "Arey fafda." You look at a Banya and you will say, "Uski to dukaan hoga, business hoga," and all that. But it is, at the end of the day, it is just stereotyping inside the country. Tomorrow you go abroad, no matter who you are standing with, it's an Indian first. So yes, it's nice to have the courage to laugh at ourselves and sometimes at others. But I think that's where I would like to mention maybe your book here, that we are very patriotic in nature when we go abroad. Aapas mein baat nahi karenge. Train mein, if two Bengalis meet, they will only talk in Bangla. But when we go abroad, I think if you look at an Indian and if you meet an Indian, you will start talking in one common language, which in our country is English. So we do have a lot of ironies also, you know.
So I'll come to Kaushik now. Kaushik, ये planet typewriter से अब कंप्यूटर का जमाना आ गया ना, तो planet कंप्यूटर में आपके टाइपराइटर के कुछ बच्चे गए थे पढ़ने और वहां पे जंग छिड़ गई और वहां पे बच्चे मर रहे हैं और यहाँ पे हम बैठ के हंस रहे हैं, कैसा लग रहा है आपको?
I'm obviously not going to be happy about a situation where we are sitting and laughing and there are people who are dying somewhere else. But if we are not laughing, but we are actually bringing about laughter about what is happening over there that is wrong. And if we can do that to bring about a change, then certainly humor, I think, is the best medicine and it's also the best ammunition, because satire, I think, is the way to sort of tell everybody that there is something wrong. While you're laughing, it's not meant to be a joke. You will have to think about it too.
और इसके साथ साथ क्या जैसे आपके टाइपराइटर, प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर से प्लैनेट कंप्यूटर में बच्चे गए, वहां पे जंग हो गई, अब प्लैनेट कंप्यूटर में बच्चे मर रहे हैं, तो आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर के अंदर जो उनके पेरेंट्स हैं और वो प्लैनेट एट लार्ज इज इन क्योस, राइट? तो उसका मोटिवेशन बरकरार रखने के लिए भी तो लाफ्टर जरूरी है. डज लाफ्टर हैव अ रोल टू प्ले? डज दिस कॉन्फिडेंस इन कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग, डू यू थिंक?
See, I think laughter has always had a role to play, and I've often said this, and I've also read about it, that most of us, at least from my generation, I've had a cartoon in the masthead position. So even if you talk about R.K. Lakshman, I mean, the pride of place that R.K. Lakshman had once upon a time, which is, almost every day that you would see R.K. Lakshman, saying something about the society and the politicians and everything, that has disappeared. And I think there are many publications, the leading ones, who don't give you a chance to laugh anymore. So my view is that the courage to laugh is also the courage to laugh at oneself. I think that is what we are losing out. And to your point, I think it is always going to be that whether it's a typewriter or the computer, it is always going to be a cause for dissent, a cause for a tragedy. And very interestingly, it is something that I discovered, which is that a tragedy becomes a comedy over a period of time. And somebody said that, the biggest tragedy which could have been, let's say, Rajiv Gandhi's death, right? Within a week's time, you had a joke where Rajiv Gandhi apparently said that, oh, what a bomb. Now, the thing is that it's not meant to be sort of making fun of the situation, but it's also meant to remind you about a tragedy. So here I'm saying that where are all those cartoons? Where are all the cartoonists? Where have they gone? Why is it that it's not there? I think it's also because today we very easily, if you say something about me, I will get very angry. And if I'm a very powerful person, I'll do something to you. Yeah, you started off by saying that as far as a stand-up comedian is concerned, he doesn't care or she doesn't care. But the truth is that we should care, right? I mean, why should a stand-up comedian, even before he's actually gone up on stage, is pushed into a prison and he has nobody to represent? So I think it just reflects the fact that we do have the courage, but there are perhaps stronger people who would want to, suppress that courage.
मुझे क्या लगता है ना कौशिक कि the courage to laugh, हम दूसरों पे बहुत आसानी से हंस लेते हैं, उसकी गलती है, वो ऐसा है कह के हम आराम से हंस लेते हैं. लेकिन हमें खुद पे हंसने के लिए ना एक बहुत जरूरी चीज होती है, that is the ability to say sorry, humility. Until and unless you do not have that ability, अगर आपको अपने गलती को acknowledge करने की ताकत, क्षमता अपने अंदर नहीं है, तो ना ही आप किसी दूसरे को सॉरी बोल पाओगे और अपने आप पे तो कभी हंस ही नहीं पाओगे, राइट? तो अभी क्या हो रहा है, तो जब ऐसा होता है तो the courage to laugh is first of all tossed aside, it's kicked aside, और वो ट्रोल के रूप में पैदा हो जाता है. तो अभी क्या हो रहा है, देखिए, आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर से प्लैनेट कंप्यूटर गए बच्चे पढ़ने के लिए, ठीक है? आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर का फॉरेन मिनिस्टर पूरी दमखम लगा के अपने बच्चों को वापस लाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, राइट? लेकिन आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर के अंदर ही वहां के लोग उस फॉरेन मिनिस्टर के घर के बाहर जाके उसका पुतला जला रहे हैं, प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं। और कोई कुछ कर रहा हो नहीं कर रहा हो, लेकिन आप अपनी दिमाग से पूरे पूरे आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर के लोग ये बात को देख रहे हैं कि बाकी कोई कुछ कर रहा हो, आपका फॉरेन मिनिस्टर डेडिकेटली अपने हर एक बच्चे को वापस लाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, राइट? लेकिन आपके लोग वहां पे क्या कर रहे हैं? वो हंस रहे हैं, उसका पुतला जला रहे हैं। दैट इज कॉल्ड ट्रोलिंग, राइट? अब आप वापस देखिए, एक तो उस पे आप हंस रहे हो, जो मिनिस्टर आपका वापस ला रहा है लोगों को, उसे आप ट्रोल कर रहे हो, उसके खिलाफ प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हो। और बाकी जो आपके प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर के मिनिस्टर हैं, वो लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? वो लोग वहां पे बैठ के दे आर डूइंग चीप पब्लिसिटी एंड स्कोरिंग लो पीआर पॉइंट्स, राइट? तो ऐसे माहौल में क्या हंसी नहीं आएगी ऐसे समाज पे? क्या चुपचाप बैठेगा? एक लेखक सटायर के थ्रू बोलेगा या फिर वो लिखेगा, और अगर वो लिखेगा तो उस पर आक्रमण किया जाएगा। तो क्या करें प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर के लोग?
See, what you're touching upon is actually a problem which is more to do with the stereotyping of politicians, whether it's a foreign minister or we're not talking about foreign policy over here, right? Okay. As far as the foreign minister or any minister is concerned, what has happened over time is that the political class has been sort of looked upon as a class which is not doing their job. They are opportunists, they come to power, they do what is good for them personally. And we have seen, of course, there are enough examples. So I think as far as people are concerned, there is a certain kind of anger. And of course, there is also misplaced anger, which is anger about, something that is happening, which is happening in the right way. But people have become very impatient and they're always using the stereotype to judge a person or judge a situation. But the second point that you said is also true, and that could be the reason why the anger is happening. The second point is about if you're doing a job, and I know what you're talking about, which is about these kids, etc., and they need to be brought back safely. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Why is there so much of, PR and media and, there is slogan chanting in the plane and everything that is happening? Why? That is your job. I mean, that's why you've been elected. That's why you have a kind of an office. You have every resource with you. So you should do it. So why is this thing about brownie points? So yes, 2 points. One is that there is stereotyping for which, maybe at times something good is also being sort of looked upon as perhaps an exploitation. The other is somebody who actually exploits the system to always, get the brownie points for something that is meant to his job. I mean, why should I actually congratulate you for saving people in a crisis situation?
Right, and Soumya, I'll come back to you now. हमने इतनी बात की satire on majoritarianism. एक और बात यहाँ पे बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है कि क्या माइनॉरिटी मेजॉरिटी बनने की कोशिश करता है कभी कभी? क्या माइनॉरिटी ज्यादा ताकतवर हो जाता है और वो मेजॉरिटी को ही दबाने का कोशिश करता है? Yeah,
that's absolutely true. I think there are many examples of that, and as Indians, we should know that a minority group of, we call them invaders, the Mughals. We have had the Dutch, we have the French, and then finally, of course, the British. They've come as to rule over us. They were minorities. We've let them have it their way. And in my book, there's a reference to Africa, which is basically South Africa, where the minority have ruled. So in my view, what I have said in my book is any kind of oppression. I think the whole point is that will always be majority and minority. You cannot escape that. You'll have that in your family, you'll have that in your office, you'll have that in your club, you'll have it in your association. You can't stop that. But if you're not able to sort of, exchange the best of the values and what we have, and if a minority group actually is the oppressor, that is not meant to be tolerated. I mean, you should not ever allow that to happen. So to your point, I believe that there is some reference in my book how the minority also has a way of oppressing. And perhaps it is when the minority actually oppresses for a very long time, then when the other group, the majority, comes back, they have a tendency to take revenge. And the revenge perhaps at times is, the harmless people who are not meant to be attacked.
And Soumya, now I'll come to you. इन्होंने revenge का जिक्र किया. Now let's leave your book aside and let's leave diplomacy aside. I don't want to say anything that's politically incorrect, but revenge का जो बात किया, does humor in society at large help us curtail revenge? अगर हम हंसते हैं तो शायद हमें वो बदला लेने का जो चाहत होती है शायद वो कम होता है. आपको लगता है ऐसा? I want a human moment from you here.
So basically, I would like to come back to my book because I think that is what it is all about, right? It's acceptance. It's acceptance, laughter, looking at who you are, and then moving on from there. It's all about that. I know my food smells of curry, my house smells of curry. If I go abroad and live as a student, people tell me your house smells of curry, but I like that smell. I've accepted it. I laugh about it.
But the point is, I don't like the smell. आप सुई डाल रहे हो, खून निकल रहा है, कौशिक. तो I don't like that smell. I can't accept it.
But that's the problem that you're having. You're not able to accept me as a person, as a human, right?
That's not a problem that I am having. That is the problem that people are having with people like us. They are not accepting us. और आप बोल रहे हो कि ठीक है, ऐसा चल रहा है, हमें ठीक है, सब कुछ अच्छा है.
Absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is everybody needs to accept who they are. It also depends on what you call a minority, right? I mean, today I could claim to be the female gender. I could claim to be I'm an unmarried girl. It's difficult for me. But can I just keep going on that? No. The fact of the matter is we have to live as a country. We are very diverse people, but I accept that diversity, and so should everybody else. I mean, that's the beauty of my country, which I'm sitting here to represent, right? It's about celebrating the diversity of this country. We are all very different. We all accept that. We all have the right to our opinions. We all have the right to our views. We all have the right to our lifestyle. And that's exactly what I like to celebrate in India. I love the fact that I get so many cuisines to eat. I probably love South Indian food. And sorry, I'm saying South Indian food because that is how we are. We've grown up to saying everything south of wherever you stayed is South India. Everything to where you stayed above you is North India. I love all that sort. Everything. I like Banarsi sari, but I also like everything that comes otherwise. So it's all about accepting and living with that diversity, and that is what makes you grow. It's all culture. It's all addition to you.
In life, there is as much as acceptance as it is important to reject. It's important to call a spade a spade. जो चीज गलत है वो गलत है, जो सही है सही है. कुछ चीजों को एक्सेप्ट करना चाहिए. जो चीज गलत आपको लगे उसे खुलेआम बोलना चाहिए ये गलत है. प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर से प्लैनेट कंप्यूटर पे हमारे बच्चे गए, वो वहां पे फंस गए, हम पे ब्राउनी पॉइंट स्कोर कर रहे हैं. दैट इज समथिंग विल नॉट सेलिब्रेट, राइट कौशिक? We have just last 2 minutes and we'll do just a brief reading from both of your book. Would you like to start, Soumya?
Yeah.
Just a brief reading, 1 minute each, and then we'll open the floor for questions.
So I think we are going to celebrate something which is very Indian in nature, and I would like to really say that to my two other panelists as I celebrate it really, because the chapter is called "Adjust, Please," and I think Indians are very adapting and adjusting. And let me do a very quick reading as Saket has said. So the chapter is called "Adjust, Please." Thoda sa khissakna, thoda adjust kar lo. Scoot over a little, please adjust a bit. Be it trains, metros, buses, or even friendships, relationships and marriages. Adjust seems to be the buzzword everywhere in India. We Indians simply adjust. On the road, we adjust 5 cars into lanes meant for 2. Bikers and scooter drivers adjust themselves in the spaces available between cars. India probably holds a world record in adjusting the maximum number of people into a car, bus, or train. Passengers throng the top of buses and trains, hanging onto window bars, door handles, wherever there is space to accommodate even a fingernail. Inside a bus is a whole new world of touch and smell. If you find yourself lucky enough to not have your body pressed against a steel pole meant to hold on to, wait till you feel someone's armpit against your nose, someone's beautifully coconutty smelling hair in your mouth, or another's stiletto heels impaling your foot. Indians from all walks of life seem to have a special adjustment chromosome to celebrate putting up with everything. We learn to adjust to it all. Manage ho hi jata hai. This trait, virtually instilled in Indians right from childhood, usually makes us laid back and accommodating. We are willing to share and adjust for friends, family, and strangers alike. India is one big, happy, adjusting family. Thank you.
I'm sure Kaushik is going to read something that is.
You know what? I didn't plan to read this, but I think it's very clear that my book is a satire, and it's about.
Why?
No, I'll just read a little bit. Basically, to say that my book is dystopian. Yes, it is. It shows the dark side of what happens. But my book also ends on a happy, positive note when all the letters come together. And when they come together, there is a poet god who actually uses the typewriter, and he actually writes a song. And I'm just going to read a little bit of the song. Everybody wants to hide behind the bigger side, but don't choose a side that says you won't survive if you let others live and thrive. Don't choose a side that's always incites to spread hatred that divides. Don't choose a side that hails only your tribe and hurts others with hateful diatribe. No matter who claims the river to rule and run, it won't change the water to red, blue, green, or saffron. The river of life has all the colors. The river of life has all the answers. Listen to the river as it whispers. I'm the giver of life for humanity. Unite in love, peace, and harmony. Untie yourself from the side of tyranny.
Untie yourself from the
side of tyranny.
From the side of tyranny. सब कुछ पे adapt or accept करोगे, then how will you untie yourself from this side of tyranny, right?
Well, it's about uniting in love, peace, and harmony, which I think is fundamental to what we are supposed to be doing. And only when you actually unite in that kind of space, you will know how to untie yourself as well.
And we have run short of time. Can we see the hands for questions, please? There's one in front. There's one in behind. Can we start from behind, right at the back? There's a lady there with the mask. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is my question is about the book about like Made in India, Mad in India. So you were just talking about how we should how celebrating the uniqueness of Indian culture is really a good thing, right? So like as a generation, for example, we are often caught between Western modernity and Indian traditions. So how do you think that as a culture, we should navigate that sort of conflict? Because we don't do too well in terms of, let's say, gender equality index or happiness index and global rankings. So like, how do you think that we should sort of navigate that whole jigsaw? Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a wonderful question. And I think as when we've been growing up as teenagers, we've all kind of faced that. I mean, if you look, I'm giving you my example. I love India. I love its traditions, but at the moment I'm unaccepting of marriage. So I think it's about navigating how you feel it is correct. And on one side, I want to keep my family happy. On the other side, I want to keep myself happy. So it's about how you grow. And I think the country is growing. Everybody has feathers and wings here. And whichever direction you want to take, whichever direction personally you think is correct, is where you should go. That's how it is. And that's where diversity comes in. And that's where you learn so much. That's where I understand what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
ठीक है. Next question here.
हेलो। बिल्कुल, मुझे एक्सेप्ट करना चाहिए कि आप लोगों की बहुत काफ़ी क्यूरियस है, मतलब पढ़ने के लिए काफ़ी मोटिवेट करती है। लेकिन मैं जो सवाल पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कौशिक, माफ करिए, फोनिक्स रॉय जी, कि आपने कहा कि इंडियन को बच्चों को बाहर से लाना कोई ऐसा काम नहीं है कि सेलिब्रेट किया जाए, वो तो आपका ड्यूटी था। लेकिन
We didn't talk about India at all. We are talking about planet typewriter. ये काल्पनिक कहानी हम लोग बात कर।
ठीक है, कंप्यूटर प्लेनेट से प्लेनेट टाइपराइटर पे लाना ड्यूटी था, लेकिन सवाल है कि जो नेशनलिज्म है, अगर उससे बढ़ता है, आपको अब कहीं से अपने बच्चों को लेके आ रहे हैं और उसको सेलिब्रेट किया जा रहा है, तो ड्यूटी भूल जाएं आप, लाना भूल जाएं, लेकिन उससे इंडियननेस तो बढ़ता है। मीडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करता हूं मैं, मीडिया को यही आरोप लगाया जाता है कि आप नेगेटिव चीज दिखाते हैं। अगर अच्छी चीज दिखा रहे हैं हम कि इंडियन को लाया जा रहा है, सेलिब्रेट किया जा रहा है, तो उसमें बुरा क्या है? जब आप दिखाते हैं कि कंधार छोड़ के आ गए, उसको हम आलोचना कर सकते हैं, तो वहां से अच्छे लोगों को लेके आ रहे हैं, मतलब अपने लोगों को लेके आ रहे हैं, उसमें बुराई क्या है? उसमें सेलिब्रेट क्यों नहीं किया जाना चाहिए? अगर बुश जो है ना जाके उस समय इनको मार सकता है, उसको सेलिब्रेट कर सकते हैं। आपकी देखो, उसने वहां जाके अपने दुश्मन को मार दिया और अपने लोगों को लेके आ रहे हैं, इसमें बुरा क्या है? सेलिब्रेट क्यों नहीं किया जाना
Keep it to
चाहिए?
the question. We are done with it. पहली बात, आपकी क्वेश्चन इंडिया पे आ गई। हम लोग तो प्लैनेट कंप्यूटर और प्लैनेट टाइपराइटर पे घूम रहे थे, हम इंडिया के बारे में तो जिक्र कर ही नहीं रहे थे। दूसरी बात, आपने नेशनलिज्म को ला दिया, तो नेशनलिज्म पेट्रियोटिज्म की परिभाषा जानने के लिए आप द साइकोलॉजी ऑफ अ पेट्रियट पढ़िए। पेट्रियोटिज्म का मतलब, इस किताब को लिखने में हमने 2 साल तक अध्ययन किया कि पेट्रियोटिज्म क्या होता है, और अंततः हमें ये खुद से जवाब मिला कि वसुधैव कुटुंबकम आपका पेट्रियोटिज्म का मीनिंग वो होता है, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। Until and unless you believe that every country in the world is equal and every person in every country is equal, you'll not have that realization of patriotism. Till then, patriotism will remain a sham, nationalism will remain a sham.
May I also say something to you? I think there's a very fine line between, nationalism and jingoism.
Yes.
I think what we are talking about here, and we haven't named any country, and you have understood and you have interpreted in your own way. We acknowledge that and we respect that. But the fact is that generally for all countries, I think there is a difference, and that jingoism is something that we have to remember is not what is nationalism. And I'm sorry, but I come from a country and a place where there was Tagore, who spoke about the importance of embracing the whole world as a family and not just your people, your language, your territory. That is not the way humanity is meant to be, growing or, living for the future. It's a very, very, I think I have to stop over here because we're running out of time.
हमें कुछ बड़ा बोलने से पहले इंटरनेट पे वो व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी रवीश कुमार बोलते हैं ना, वैसे ज्ञान लेके नहीं बकना चाहिए। हमें पहले कुछ बोलते हैं तो उसके बारे में खुद से अध्ययन करना हमारा अपना कर्तव्य बनता है। We have a question from online, I guess. We'll take that first.
Thank you. So we have a question online from Shivam, and it's addressed to Soumya. He says, ma'am, when we say I'm sitting right here and I'm happy, we are not acting in oblivion to the situation of the people not as privileged as us. That's a question, because it is obviously undeniably true that the constitution of our typical Indian marriage is deeply patriarchal in nature and causes immense amounts of distress to women throughout the country. Like Sir asked, which I guess is Saket, by celebrating it like this, aren't we trying to keep it this way?
I think she already answered that.
Yes, I almost answered that, and sorry, I keep bringing you back to myself, but we are celebrating the occasion. We are celebrating how we celebrate the celebration. And to be honest, I'll have to be married to understand whether I should celebrate it or celebrate being single. I'm not so sure about it. I've seen extremely large number of couples which are married, and of course, a lot of single women and men. And I don't think I would say that most marriages are patriarchal, or it depends. I guess it depends. I cannot comment about a single marriage, but I think the institution is more about companionship from where I see it. So I would celebrate it as a marriage of equals.
Can we see the hand? Can we see the hands? We have time for one last question. Bring it here in the front, right in the front. Last question.
Now, my question is to anybody who is generous enough to answer this. why is the concept of being a joker discarded in today's society and the concept of being a comedian appraised? तुम किसी और का मजाक उड़ाओ तो चलेगा, but तुम खुद का मजाक नहीं उड़ा सकते, फिर तुम खुद की कम्युनिटी का मजाक नहीं उड़ा सकते और खुद का मजाक नहीं बना सकते. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है आज के टाइम पे?
So I'm going to be talking about the Sardar jokes. The interesting thing about Sardar's jokes is, as I have found out, is the Sardars crack the maximum number of Sardar jokes. But the interesting thing is that the Sardars crack the joke when they're with Sardars. Now, I cannot possibly do that when I'm in a Sardar community. The fact is that this is the interesting thing, that we like humor as long as it's a humor that is accepted in an environment where we are all together and we are all the same in a homogeneous situation. The minute it is coming from outside, we cannot accept it. But the fact, what you are talking about is the humor about, being offended is a very new thing, which is a global thing. This, I take offense when you crack a joke. Now, what is interesting is that your point we have to remember is in the White House, when the president is, is new to White House, there is a roasting session and the president gets roasted. Now, I mean, in spite, I'm not a fan of America. I'm not really, I find that, overhyped, but I believe that that is something that we will never allow to happen. I cannot see a comedian or a stand-up going and taking up the president or the prime minister of the country and cracking jokes. So when we get there, I think we will have evolved a lot.
Take care. With this, we have reached the end of time for this session. Thank you very much for being a part of it on behalf of Kaushik, Soumya, and myself, and our gratitude to the founders and producers of Jaipur Lit Fest for having all of us here. Kaushik and Soumya will be signing their books, I guess, so you can catch them. You can buy their books from the festival store and you can get them signed. Thank you so much once again from all of us.
Thank you, Roy, Soumya, and Saket, for what was a very subtle satire and a great one. So I think everyone enjoyed this session. Saket, you stuck to the time like no one else has, and thank you very much for that. We thank Rajasthan Patrika for their support, and as Saket helped me by saying that the authors will be signing their book just the way I pointed out.